Shift our attention to the US forces that are pulling out from Afghanistan, and the United States has now said that nearly about 90% of all of its troops have now left Afghanistan. This means that the Afghan authorities are pretty much on their own in the battle against the Taliban.
We have spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources in improving the competency and the capability of the Afghan National Security Forces, and now it's their turn. It's their time to defend their people, defend their territory, defend their sovereignty. And it's going to be up to them now to do the work of the security forces for that particular country.
The Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby also reiterated that the US will maintain robust over-the-horizon capability for Afghanistan if needed. Discussions were still on with the State Department regarding the nature of what that capability could be. The United States has maintained that there is a carrier strike group in the region that could be useful if it were to be needed. John Kirby also said that the United States and the NATO coalition partners will continue to support Afghanistan's security forces.
As we've said, Abraham, we are capable of conducting over-the-horizon counterterrorism right now. It's difficult, but it's doable. And we are continuing to explore other options in the region to be able to enhance that capability going forward. We are having active discussions in concert with our State Department colleagues about that very thing. I don't have a breakdown for you right now what that's going to look like. But again, it's important to remember we already have an over-the-horizon counterterrorism capability. We've got a carrier strike group in the region. We've got facilities throughout the Middle East that have and will continue to be of value in this regard, so we have that capability. As for the support for the Afghans, we're still working out what that contract support is going to look like. Once the drawdown is complete, many of those contractors are still there providing that kind of support to the Afghans and the Afghan Air Forces as you and I speak, and we are actively working ways in which that contract support can be done remotely or virtually or even physically outside the country.
Meanwhile, the Afghan authorities have vowed to regain control of all the districts that have been lost to the Taliban over the last few days. Now, hundreds of military personnel have been deployed to counter the Taliban militants, and this, of course, has come after more than 1,000 troops reportedly were forced to flee to Tajikistan. Security forces have been deployed in the northern provinces of Takhar and Badakhshan. This is where the Taliban has captured large swathes of territory and has met with little resistance. The Afghan forces say that they are focusing on securing major cities, roads and border towns. National Security Advisor Hamdullah Muhib has said that more than 1,000 Afghan troops that fled to Tajikistan are slowly returning and they will rejoin the security forces.
Those that went to Tajikistan are coming back and are once again going to be in the service of their people in defense of Faizabad. They're being brought back. People are standing. It's war. There is pressure. Sometimes things work in our way and sometimes they don't.
Meanwhile, a psychological war is pretty much going on. The Taliban has started using the social media to post live updates of their takeover of Afghan districts. They're also posting videos of Afghan soldiers surrendering as well. In retaliation to this, the Afghan government has also started releasing its own footage of airstrikes that it has been carrying out with the help of the Americans on Taliban strongholds. These are mostly grainy black and white videos of airstrikes obliterating alleged Taliban positions. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what's actually unfolding in Afghanistan as we speak, we are joined in by Mr. Ali Yawar Adli, who's joining us live from Kabul. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Adil, for joining us on this broadcast on WION. You know, the question that I want to start off with is, what is the situation presently like? Is the government in Kabul even capable of holding on to the territory that it presently holds from the Taliban?
Thank you very much. The situation is not good, and of course it was not unexpected given the withdrawal of NATO and US forces. And the Taliban have been making onslaughts into the districts and, of course, capturing district after districts. And they have, of course, these operations by the Taliban started after the 1st May when the US and NATO forces began withdrawing from Afghanistan. And they have captured like more than 100 districts, especially in the north, in the last few weeks. And the government is still struggling to respond to the Taliban's territorial gains and advances. First of all, it has supported the mass mobilization in the north, in Herat, in Arwan, and also in Balkh provinces. And of course, this support was not extended by the government in the past for the people to get mobilized and arm themselves. But now that support is there, and that is part of the response that the government is trying to provide equipment and support for the people who are mobilized and are arming themselves against the Taliban. And
yeah, that's an important point that you raised, Mr. Adil, that there is greater mobilization that the Taliban is carrying out even as we speak. This of course brings us to the big question. With the United States out of the equation, with the United States having, left the battlefield, so to speak, can the Afghan forces stand up to the Taliban? Is that realistically possible?
Well, we still see the trends that are unfolding in the wake of the withdrawal. And of course, that withdrawal is still being completed. But we see so far in certain areas, the security forces have withdrawn from the districts or somehow surrendered to the Taliban. And of course, they have been released. And yesterday, NSA Mohib said that over 2,000 security forces who had somehow withdrawn from the districts or from their military posts are now rejoining the security forces, and they are allowed to do but it's still for security forces. And of course, the government is also struggling to, yesterday, President Ghani in the cabinet meeting gave instruction to the Ministry of Interior to re-establish Afghan local police, and that was like a sort of a strong force in certain communities, for example, in Paktia and some other provinces, and they are from the local communities, and of course, they fought hard against the Taliban.
Absolutely, indeed. This is indeed a very fluid situation at this point of time. We'll, of course, continue to monitor what is, of course, happening in Afghanistan. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Ali Yawar Adili, for joining us in this broadcast on WION and getting us the latest in terms of what is unfolding there between the Afghan forces and the Taliban. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.